Hey, what's up, everybody? I give people a second to join in. So I've been working at how I want to make this Bane stuff work, with the colors and inks and my thick to thin and stuff like that. It's always been kind of a big pain in the ass for me. So thought I had it figured out last night, and then here on the stream found out I didn't. So I went and did a lot of tests. I did a lot of tests, and so basically I came up with, after a bunch of different ways of doing it, I'm just going to be doing my thick and thin right over this using my new brush. So I'll draw it using my regular round brush, and then we'll do this over, and then that will be flattened, and we can do colors right over that. See, this is just a base setup. So this is just me color trapping these colors. There's no trickery going on here. So I ran into a situation where, a publisher hit me up and was like, "Hey, in the future, would you be interested in doing some stuff?" And like my way of color, like inking over colored work, isn't gonna work with that format if I do that in the future. So I need to simplify this all down. But hey, whatever. All right, it is getting there. So still, I do like sketching at half resolution and then doubling and drawing the final lines. So that I do like. Got to get you on a bat title. Hey, what's up, Raven? Nice to see you, dude. Appreciate it. Oh, hope you and the family are having a happy holiday. What? I should not step on my cord. Hey, what's up, long arm? It worked. See, long arm, it worked tonight. Anyways, I'm gonna get started. So, part of the confusion for me just comes from having worked in games for the last 3 or 4 years now. They just demand different things. So I've had to. Hello, just want to say your art is extremely inspiring to me as an artist. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it, Max. Thank you. Hey, what's up, Joseph? Am I on a Cintiq? Yes. I'm just using the Cintiq 22 HD no touch. I've heard good things about like the Huions and stuff, but I use the classic thinner Wacom pen. I can't draw with a giant fat marker. So once this breaks one day, I gotta make a decision. Will someone make a thinner pen? Or will I have to go and stick with the expensive Cintiqs? Hopefully, it'll be years before I have to figure that one out because I don't feel like spending money on another tablet anytime soon. Just look around for another use. No, I'm saying when the screen eventually goes. Eventually, the screen will go. I have four of these. I bought like four of these pens. Can you download your brushes? I can download them, yes. One second. Copy. Tiny. Make. Copy. All right. If you guys want my Photoshop brushes for drawing, there. Have fun. Okay, Ricardo. Yeah, we don't get a ton of people in the chat, so I see it. I see everything. General chemistry. Wow. Dope. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, I wish I could draw super fast. Problem with speed drawings is I don't really learn much from them. So I mostly leave up the real time videos because when I forget how to do something, I need to see it in real time. So sometimes I just forget what I'm doing. So like some people go on YouTube and they're like, "Man, who's gonna sit through and watch all this stuff?" I'm like, me. They're all for me. I forget what I do sometimes. So that's how I know it works. That's how I know I don't hide nothing. Big fan of your work for a while. Have you ever been to cons and sold your work? Yeah, I have. I just don't make much money at cons. You gotta have you can't do one con. You have to do a bunch of cons, and you have to have a plethora of prints, and I just don't have the time to do all that. So it's been 5 years, I think, since the last time I did a con, but I just don't make a lot of money at them. So see how we're hanging out now? We'd never see each other at a con. I was up working on a colored pencil thing for a friend. Oh, nice. Yeah, we're gonna do some color pencils soon with some of this stuff. These digital ones are also gonna be color pencils because I gotta ship them out. So I'm just doing the digital first. Chunk, 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 chunk. Yeah. Well. I'd like to say I invented a super chunky vein, but that's not true. There's a really great animated short they did years ago. Batman in China or whatever. Like it was this kung fu Batman, and he fought this super giant Bane. So it is canon. Super great animation. Wish they did a whole series of it. It was super good. Hey, what's up? Are there any character designs you think are underrated? Personally, I love the chibi robot aesthetic, like Metabots. Character designs that I think are underrated. Carlos Maglia. Of course, if you're from South America, you know he's not underrated, but in North America, Carlos Maglia is probably the most underrated artist of the last uh, 40 years. That's why the hairs is a tribute to Maglia. Gonna have to leave this live and go. Yeah, do discover Carlos Maglia's art. Hey, what's up, sir? His work is really good. Yeah. He was a professional illustrator since the mid to late 70s. And he was producing the best work of his career up until the day he died, man. 54, heart attack. Too young. Too young. Yeah, he did a book called Superman Infinite City in 2004. It's amazing. A third of the backgrounds are painted in oil, oils, and everything else is cell shaded. He was working on a Batman book when he passed. He did a Star Wars series, a Star Wars Underworld series. That's my favorite. So I love it. He was highly influential to guys like Umberto Ramos. So like I said, if you wanted to know who, that's it. For whatever reason, his style didn't take off in the States. Like should have. Start caricature people, man. Like start learning caricature. You start doing caricature, then not just with faces, but with body types. That gestural drawings where you develop shape design, man. Have fun with it. Don't draw people realistic. Start take the top half of their head, make it bigger, smaller, find a feature, focus on that. I mean, anytime you feel like you're running out of shape design, man, go back to caricatures. People, dogs, animals, a plant, whatever. That's how you do it, man. I don't know how much I want to. Caricature, buildings, anything, dude. I love shape design. I have no interest in sitting there and drawing someone exactly as they are. Because what who are we? Like when you really think about it, you're like multiple personalities, right? So like there's no one way to draw one person. Like if you draw what you see, you draw their personality. Sometimes people are mischievous, sometimes people are sweet, sometimes people are assholes. And each one of those brings out a different shape, a different form. Kind of software do I use? This is Photoshop. That's it. Photoshop, and I use Lazy Nezumi Pro just to give me. There's a thing called pressure gain, so it doubles the pressure without me having to press too hard, which I like. Some people don't like that, but I like it. Smooths out a little bit. I don't like a lot of smoothing. Just takes the jitter out. So that's it. Use Krita. Yeah, they're all good, man. Use what works for you. I just happen to be using Photoshop since like 1995. So like not just for drawing, but for like everything. So all my what's the last movie you saw? The last movie I saw? Uh, the last movie I saw. Man, I just got done watching Haikyuu season 4, dude. So like, probably last time I watched a movie was on Halloween. All right, watch Halloween movies like Clue and stuff. Last movie I saw in the theaters was Sonic the Hedgehog. So there you go. Yeah, I was looking for something to throw on while drawing. Honestly, man, when I'm drawing, if it has to be a movie, I'll put on Ocean's 11 or Rounders or sometimes National Treasure. Try to build a good character design profile, but I think sometimes I mess up my drawings. Well, so I said, what's it? Haikyuu? It's a volleyball anime. Season 4 is to the top. It's awesome. Even if you don't like volleyball, don't worry. It's better than real volleyball. What was Photoshop like in 1995? That's wow. It's been around though. Yeah. I used a Mac, a PowerPC 5200 at school. They got a Mac lab that year. They got some grant. Apple came down and built it, and it was real basic. You had that cool lens flare. Didn't have a Cintiq or a Wacom tablet, so I had to use a mouse. So I put in a drawing, and then I would use the polygonal lasso to draw the shapes underneath. You had layers, so you could still use layers, but not a ton. Oh, rounders need to. Yeah, I love rounders. So, I didn't get my first Wacom tablet until 2001. Yeah. The If you believe it or not, I don't know if you're young, old enough to remember in 2001, but the government had a surplus, so they sent me a $500 rebate check. Remember that? This is right before 9/11, about a month before 9/11. So I used that $500 rebate check to get a Wacom tablet. I didn't get my first Cintiq. Yeah, I didn't get my first Cintiq in until 2008. But I used it in 2003. I went to SIGGRAPH. The SIGGRAPH, it's a big convention for all new technology. They held it in San Diego that year, and I was in college, so I was able to volunteer and get in. And I used the Cintiq, the first generation, and I vowed I'd get one by the second generation. It was a little too clunky, but uh, mostly because I've always struggled with carpal tunnel. So um, the Cintiq and digital drawing in general has just taught me to not press hard. So when I do traditional art now, I draw with pens, so I don't press down on the paper. So just gotta make sure you don't lean on your arm if you're using shortcut keys, right? You're redoing Bane. Yeah, I'm just drawing a version of Bane. Redoing? No, it's a second one, but yeah, it's for a different. Someone else wanted a Bane, so I actually did this sketch in 2016. Just never had the time to complete it. never made the time really. I had time. I just ever try anime? Yeah, I did 2D animation, hand drawn in college, and I hated it. So I don't like I don't like creating hundreds of drawings for 2 seconds of output, man. It's not my thing. It's not for me. I respect animators though, because the shit's hard. You started illustration, character, concept art 1 year ago, and you tried a lot to improve your drawings. Yeah, well, look, it's a forever. This this art, especially when you're doing design and concept, it's a forever thing, man. It's not something you can just see immediate results in a year, like unless you're a genius. I'm not a genius, so like it took me a long time. So I always say if you want to really master character design, you need to focus on two fundamentals. Three really, but the third one's sort of tied in. One, construction, and two, gesturals. So you need to be able to construct things three-dimensionally because if you have to do a drawing for a 3D model, you need to draw three-dimensionally, right? Um, gesturals, though, gesturals are there for uh, energy, shape design, uh, caricature, laying out scenes, all that stuff. I say the third because it's just basic perspective in general. Like really learn, how to draw from center, how to mirror parallel all your lines, really master 1, 2, 3 point perspective plus curvilinear or fisheye perspective, as some people call, and learn how to construct. That urban sketching helps with that too. Urban sketching is the gestural version of that. Hey, hello, Vu. Was it Wong? Pardon me if I mispronounce, but hello. And it never ends, man. Mirror, parallel. Yeah, so when you're drawing like I'll take a quick second just to show you. Like, let's say here's your paper, right? If you put all your vanishing points, everything's gonna look super, crazy. Life doesn't really work that way. When you're drawing normal scenes where someone's in a room, right? Let's say that's a person, and they're in a table. The vanishing points um, extend off the page, right? And you don't always have the ability to have a giant ruler and figure out all your vanishing points. So what you do is you build up a general uh, horizon line, right? And you build your grid, and then you parallel lines and mirror. So like if I want to keep this line, I know this is going off to this point, I can mirror that line or parallel it over here. So same with here, then I can parallel that line. And then I know this is my center, center, center. I can find center. You can find center by doing a diagonal line and drawing a straight line through. And then from there, I know my center of the table, and I can parallel that line, I can parallel that. And then that's how you can build things in perspective, right? Scott Robertson's the best person to learn this from, right? So, I mean, I learned it, I self-taught myself, but when he put out his first Gnomon DVD, everything that I taught myself, he put into words. So, super helpful. So, and so that's how, when I'm doing a scene, even if it's crazy, like, watch this, like if it's crazy, curvilinear perspective, like this is a rooftop, right? All right, and then I'm gonna have like a little Ninja Turtle up here or something, some dude perched like Daredevil or something, right? And I got like a telephone pole. I can just mirror this into perspective, and then eventually you can start to break perspective, where you can do wild shit if you once you really learn it, where you can, you know, I know like this is my horizon line. It's probably right around here. Why do I know that? Well, is it right around there? Yeah, well, no, it's probably not. It's probably lower than that. So, I have an intro basics to perspective on my art tip section on the YouTube that'll explain it all very basically. Very basic. Hey, what's up, Ned? Thank you. When did I start as an illustrator? Paid? I got full time in 2005 for a t-shirt company to draw and design t-shirts for men's and boys licensed apparel Marvel for Mad Engine in 2005. So I started there, and then I was freelancing doing comic book work after that. And then I got into video game magazines, and I was doing graphic novels for video games. Nothing ever got published because licensors were nuts. So I spent years making things that just never got printed. It was really quite a waste of my time. I think it takes some time to master accounts. Is that? I think it takes some times to master. Yeah, that's true. I think Seneca did really well in the 24-hour challenge. Okay. I don't really do challenges. I don't care. It's not my thing. But see, like I see once you get perspective down enough in construction, you see everything as a surface. So I don't see the outline of his gauntlet here, okay? That's not what I see. Here's what I see. I see a surface that goes over like this, and the ridge is here, and it's curving around, and it comes like this. I see this surface. This is all topography for me, right? And it's wrapping around in the perspective. Same right here, right? Like this would come up like this. That's right here. And then maybe, if this were a 3D model, you'd do like edging and different material design. So here's the center basically of this. This would come down. This is what I see. All right, Zero. Anytime, dude. Thanks for hanging out. So like this wraps around, and then I can see that underneath this dome here, you see? Right, and so it would go this way, and then this would continue like this, right? So you really want to train your mind to see that, even though you're not drawing all of that. So when you draw, you're drawing with that in your mind, and it keeps everything working. What I did was I spent really 2002 to 2005 just focusing on construction and gesturals, and I didn't do fan art or anything. Um, I had a day job and I was going to college, but we weren't. They didn't have me do much art. It was really kind of a pain. other than the animation, which I hated. So, so I spent my time teaching myself this stuff the hard way. Slow, slow, difficult, painful. Didn't impress anybody. None of my friends were like, "That's amazing." They were like, "What's this for? What are you gonna do with this?" I'm like, "It's a tool set. I'm developing a tool set." So, um, you can do it. You can teach yourself now. You may move faster uh, because I think these things are explained now. They just weren't explained very well at that time, unless you went to like Pasadena Art College, Center Design, things like that. And it's a continual learning process. I'm always like, sometimes I hit a wall and I'm like, this isn't working. It's looking bad. And then I just pull away for a while and I go do more gesturals and, construction and urban. Now, these days I do like urban sketching or caricatures and gesturals and stuff. It's kind of how I work my way through it. Leafs fan? I don't follow sports, man. Just anime. Just anime sports. Sorry. The only thing I kind of watch is MMA, but I couldn't tell you who's who. I just watch it once a month. So I know all the moves in Attack on Titan. When they're fighting the Titans, I'm like, I know that move. Because I'm certain that's what the animators are watching. Did you see the Frank Murray get knocked into the last? I only watched the numerical ones, but I do watch the prelims for those days. So if it was the last one, then yeah, I watched all of that. Or you have other job before started? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I worked at Wendy. I did private security for my father. Uh, I worked at a toy store. Then I was in the army for a few years, and then I worked at a Kinko's, a print shop, and then while I was going to school, I was working two jobs consistently, other than the army, from 1996 to 2005. Kinko's was full time, but I was also going to college, so consider that a second job. What did I do in the army? I was a 19-kilo tanker, armored tanks. That was a stupid thing I did. uh, for some reason, I had it in my head that I'd be drawing the rest of my life, so I wanted a job that didn't put me behind a desk. And instead, I spent most of my time trying not to lose my hand to something in a tank. Everything in a tank will kill you. It'll kill the operators and even harm the operators before it'll ever kill anyone else. So that was not fun. A station in Freiburg, Germany. Ray Barracks no longer exists. They discontinued that. They shut that place down. I don't know, 2007. You were loading. I did everything. Yeah. You start as a loader, and then you do driver, and then you do gunner. I did that for 2 years. I got injured. My back gave out. It's too tall for a tank. I'm like 6'3", so I was always hunched over. It wasn't good. And so then they moved me into nuclear biological chemical (NBC), and I helped out with that for another year or so, and then I got out. So my last year or so, I was cleaning pro masks, protective masks, and teaching people how to properly apply them and do the gas chamber over and over again. So I was always getting sprayed in the face with CS, man, or like pepper spray. You know, like the shit you see those what the police like to use on protesters. Like I'd get a good shot of that in my face every week. You know, but all I did in the army was draw and travel as much as possible. And when I was traveling, I was drawing. That's why I picked up urban sketching and working out perspective. I could go anywhere and just draw buildings, you know. So you had milk on standby. Okay. Oh yeah, milk because your eyes. No, no. Sadly, the best thing to do is to just uh, flush out with water and air dry. Eventually, you get used to it. You know. I will say this. Eventually, you get used to it. You're like, ah, shit, that stings. Oh well. One thing I learned in the military is you just get used to pain. Just enjoy pain. If you enjoy the pain, then you'll have a good time. But I got out right before 9/11, guys. So the last of the generation that didn't have to go to war. They were decommissioning all of our gear. They were like, "There's never going to be any need for tanks. No more wars." And then 9/11 happened. The only reason why I didn't go to Afghanistan or get called back up was because of my injury. You know, I had to go and get a test, but they're like, "Yep, nope." So, can you sleep with your eyes open? No, man. But I can sleep with anything moving. You know, I can sleep in any moving vehicle. The downside, though, to this is I'm extremely claustrophobic now. Extremely claustrophobic. I have really poor. I curse a lot. The military created that. I never cursed before the military, and 20 years later, I just can't. I can't not curse. So it's the way it is. It ruined my vocabulary, made me claustrophobic, and I don't like people knocking on my door. Because in the barracks, they'll just barge in your room and whenever they feel like. And then when they knock, they boom, 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 then they go right in. I don't deal well with that. Like someone came to my door tonight, 7:30. It's dark out. I'm like knocking, and I'm like, I don't answer that fucking door. I don't even respond to it. You know, I get anxiety when people knock on the door. No, I sleep with the face mask. I need darkness, preferably. I prefer darkness. What pose do you struggle with the most? I don't know. Probably running. It's not the pose is hard. It's that I'm slightly dyslexic, so I always forget which foot's in front of the other. So I always have to like I have to have a photo of any kind of running just so I get the which arm and leg goes forward because I always goof it up. Uh, I mean, it's not hard to do. It's just I get the arm leg forward thing mixed up. But anytime I'm having trouble drawing something, man, just sketch it out on paper. Sometimes it's just easier to get a sketch down on paper, even if it's tiny, like super tiny, and then scan it in and enlarge and then sketch over it. Or I'll just do the silhouette, you know. Like silhouette drawing for me kind of solves a lot of problems. I'm not drawing tons of lines. I'm just working out the silhouette of the pose. So takes a lot of the pain out. What is it best to do silhouette? Anything really. Oh, with silhouette is construction. Either way, whatever's better for you. You know. Sometimes I just use silhouettes to blob in stuff. Like if I wanted to add, if I wanted to say this was cable and I wanted to add a bunch of cable canisters, well, yeah, I could draw a bunch of shit. Um, but like that would take fucking all day. So I could just come here, right, and start to blob things in. And then I would grab one of these other ones and do a quick construction pass where I can go like here, and here's my center line. This is why it's good to know perspective because you're always able to find center, right? And you can rotate this center line toward me. And then I can come over here, grab another. I like these random neons just so I can see what I'm doing. And then I can blob this stuff in. All right, see? And then here, here, here. All right. See? And then when I get done with that, I just duplicate it, fill with white. I'll duplicate it a couple times to get the edges. Turn the opacity down. And then underneath, what I'll do is fill with white and just kind of let it see through a little bit. So I don't see, I get confused with the lines. And then I just come over here. I try not to move more than 130% zoom, by the way, unless it's on a face. But then you come over here and just, see, I already have my center line figured out, and you can kind of work forward, back if you want to get all the little pieces down. See? And this can be applied for anything, buildings, boots, grass, whatever is easier for you, you know? So, basic idea there. And then you learn to make those silhouettes more shapy if you want to make it more shape designy, you know? So that's how I got these shins here and this stuff here. So I'd put the center line probably around there. It doesn't have to be perfect, by the way. It doesn't all have to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent, like with the drawing. As long as the drawing is consistent all around, it'll all unify everything. Like you can have perspective correction software that links everything up to proper vanishing points, and it'll still look stupid. So it's like, part of it's just being able to like tell, does it visually look appealing, you know? Are you have some tip how to draw digital until now you just found out art on the internet or drawn on paper? I have art tips on drawing in silhouettes. It helps the most. I have found that with backgrounds, I still find it easier to do a basic grid digitally, print it out, draw it, and then trace. I find that to just be easier. Just because of the zooms, I can just quickly. Now, I say that, but the Power Rangers piece, I drew the whole background just digitally. So sometimes no one way to do it. But in my art tip sections, I have stuff on like drawing with silhouettes, digital art and stuff that might help you. I just put tips up as I go. I don't do full tutorials and stuff. I don't have the time, you know. And quite frankly, there's, you know, what works for me won't always work for people. So it's like, if the thing with digital is like getting your head around a volume, like understanding the space, and that some people respond well to that, some people don't. They just can't get up past zooming in and out, you know. To that end, draw everything really rough on paper and then just trace it digitally. Who cares? Don't feel like you have to do everything 100% digital. You can, when I'm creating really, like, I know when I'm like designing creatures, like when I was on Crash designing creatures, I always did a shape on paper first, like a little quick sketch, and then pick the ones I like the most and then scan in and work from there. So, because I found that I come up with, Crash has very weird shapes. There's no 90-degree angles. So it's easier for me to do that on paper than digitally. But generally, a silhouette I find helps keep a container. So when you're drawing digitally, like if you have a silhouette, right? Watch this. Like if you're like, I want to draw a spaceship. Well, you can come here and try to work out the engines, and then here's the wing, and maybe it's coming out this way. Yeah, you could do that. Um, I would probably just build a little container, little silhouette. Doesn't have to be one to one, just a guide. So then you can come in and I like to do these sketches low res. This is high res, so 35 by 4,000 pixels. But you can come here and so you got to find center. And then I could mirror this engine. Right. So I find this silhouette thing really helps with digital art because you have a guide basically. So I'm just making this up. I'm not looking at a reference, so it's not exactly the best shape design, but you you get the idea. And it can go beyond as again. So I would find center here, and then I can build cannons on top with some more silhouettes. You know, I can change the nose type. Say forget that. And maybe it's maybe like a hammerhead design or something, right? So see, that's the benefit. Yeah, it solved my. I mean, I just took to it when I was a kid, so like I got real tired. They had this book. The only book they had for drawing figures that was interesting to me as a kid was How to Draw the Marvel Way, and they'd always do that. They'd always do this, right? Draw a stick figure doing this, and then you build up. You like add shapes, construction, and then you get. Man, that should never work for me. I'm like I spend it forever, and so um, I was sitting in class and we were something about Leonardo da Vinci said something about like he'd stare into the walls to see scenes. And I was like, I looked at a wall and I saw the shape of an overhead projector because my eyes were all burnt out, right? But I could see the silhouette of the projector on the wall. So I took a marker and I had to do this on paper back in the day. I took like a Sharpie and let me get 100%. I just went like here. This is really flat. I remember doing something like the projector's kind of like it looked like this back in the day, right? But then I was like, if I take it and I go like this, like it was in perspective, I could then rotate it, right? Now check this out. I could then quickly blob in a three-dimensionally, and maybe it goes this way, right? And then I can go like the bottom, right? Where it's going like that. So very quickly, I can start to rotate, manipulate, especially foreshortening. Like foreshortening when they're like fingers come at you, draw this, and then you do this, and then you construct out. I'm like, fuck all that shit. Like I would just start to blob stuff like like this, right? Like imagine these are like Spider-Man's hands, right? Like the whip. I would just blob it, and then I would have to like I used my light bright as a light board back in the day. So, you could go really crazy where like the head's tiny, right? Say if you wanted to like a kind of Eric Larson-y kind of thing. See, it's crazy, but you get the idea. And then I would construct. So he used to drive my art directors nuts because they would want me to lightboard stuff, and I would do silhouettes, and I would print things out and redraw them. And for some reason, they'd always be like, "Do it the way we do it." I'm like, "Why? What does it matter why I do it?" I don't know. And by the time I left T-shirts, every one of those, the art department was doing it my way. It was funny. Similar thing. Once your teacher told me to stare into the paper as if it's a portal. Yeah, very similar, right? So not like I invented it, just that that's how I stumbled into. Wasn't until the Nomon DVDs came out in 2004, Fang Shu and them would talk about designing in silhouettes. I'm like, that's what I've been doing this whole time. But I never heard of it before that. Just that I would do it, you know. Used to like people go, "Can you do that? Can you just look at something and draw it?" That was like when I was a kid, they would do that. Can you just look at something and draw it? Because a real artist would be able to do that. And I would look at them, I'm like, "Can you do that?" No. I'm like, "Can you do what I'm doing?" No. Well, then don't. I don't need your fucking advice. you know. It's always someone who can't do jack shit who would fucking tell me what real artists could do. Yeah, no problem. Where do I find my inspiration for creature design? Depends on what the. Hey man, that there's no one way for that. Like, depends on what the briefing is. What is the tone of the setting? Spyro creatures were not the same as creatures. Spyro was very fantasy, Disney-like, and Crash was very Looney Tunes, no right angles, nothing is perfectly round, everything's angular. So it's like the difference between Beauty and the Beast, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and Disney's Emperor's New Groove, right? So you just gotta figure out what it is you're trying to create first, what the tone and the theme of things are, and then go with shape design and grab reference and don't just draw the most immediate, the most obvious version of something. Like put it down on paper and then move on to the next, move on to the least obvious. Like, what's another way to do this that isn't just the first thing you think of when you think of it? That's like it's like when I saw the Dune movie, man. The new Dune movie. Everyone's like, it's beautiful, and I'm like, yeah, it's the cinematography's great, but the design of everything, I've seen all this. This is exactly what I'd see on ArtStation. There's nothing I haven't seen before. It's a bummer to me because I'm like, they did the obvious thing. It was supposed to look like a dragonfly, so it looks like a dragonfly. I'm like, there could have been other ways. So it's just stuff like that. It's great. It's great looking. It's just that's what I'm saying. Like if you start with the obvious, people will be like, I've seen it before. Those art directors remind you of French critics that hated Alfred Sisley for the impression. Right, right, right. I learned as a kid just like no one. I grew up in a country town. They didn't get artists, man. So I just never really cared about impressing anybody. So, um, I'd go to Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con. I'd drive it. It's a long drive, but I could go to Comic Con when I was a kid, and I'd get advice from artists or watch what pros would do. You know, so it's the only leg up I really had. What reference did I use for Crash? Me? Depend on what I was doing. There weren't specific things they gave us other than like they would say things like like the future level was neo-futurism. If you know what neo-futurism is, it's like 50 style chrome rocket ships and stuff. So like when I was designing elements for that, I'd have to dig up neo-futurism, but then keep in mind the general look of the game that had been developed at that point, and then design stuff that would fit with everything else and not look, always obvious, but sometimes do the obvious. And there's a lot of stuff I produced that actually I can't even talk about because it wasn't. I can't even get into that. Yeah. So I worked on Crash from 2017 to 2020. The look of Crash was developed by Nicholas Cole and Nicola Salvatore. So I did some initial design ideas. They never used them. So NDAs. Yeah, there's stuff I can't talk about. You know. Um, and I don't know if you guys noticed. I'd rather not make an enemy out of Activision. So I don't know if you've been following the news. Yeah. But generally, game stuff always comes down to a theme. What is the theme? Like the most generic, basic game design rule is what is the theme and how can I convey this theme? Now, it gets more complicated. The better stuff design wise would be like if you look at the level design in Psychonauts 2, not only is there a theme, the design of everything is telling the story of the level without words. So the next level beyond a theme, like here's a Christmas land. What are the different ways we can do that? The next level would be this Christmas land has been uh, merchandised and corporate bought. So then you can start linearly with maybe normal Christmas and work out different logos and branding and corporate stuff, and then you design that to tell the story through the level. That's the next level. That's hard, guys. I could spend years just doing it. You know, Psychonauts 2 does it perfectly. I'd say Crash falls more into the basic theme, like a Super Mario Brothers kind of style level or basic Crash levels, right? Without talking about it, can you dig further detail on it? Not much. I don't, why bother? I worked on stuff that I can't talk about. Maybe one day, but I mean, I worked on plenty that's in the game that you can buy right now. So, oh, I see. I don't know, man. It's hard to read sarcasm. I'm the only one here who can talk, so I have the benefit of inflection, right? What is my favorite job? Um, that I've done. I'm really proud of Crash and Spyro. So if I could, if it were up to me, and we could just be making Crash and Spyro games back and forth for the next 20 years, that's all I would be doing. I'd never get tired of it. But I didn't get to make that call. So How many people get to say they made a Crash Bandicoot and a Spyro game, bro? Not too many people get to say that, so that's what I'm most proud of. I did work on Overwatch 2 for a while, but I'm no longer on that project. That was interesting. Did you work on the release of the Spyro Reignited trilogy? Yeah, yeah. My art's in the art book, man. Right when you put it up. Also, the tone, like for example, the colors of the scene, like the things I didn't like in Brave was the black shadowy things that you could see in rooms in the movie. Man, it goes through. That is so complicated. That's not one person. In that case, you'd have color and lighting departments, someone doing color keys, and then you got directors who make decisions. Brave was complicated because that shift. What I know of the production was Brenda Chapman was directing that, and then she wasn't. So who knows about that one? It's a shame. But everything in Spyro Reignited had to be redesigned. I mean, the original game looked like origami. So, like, you know, all the dragons, the orcs, everything had to be. In games I mostly worked on characters. But on Crash 4, I did uh, helped create the entire look for the New Orleans level offbeat. I got real lucky in that one that my sketches actually became the look of the whole level. Like they built it out, and then they put me back on other stuff. Like I was on it for a week, and they're like, "We love that. That's perfect." I'm like, "Awesome." They're like, "We'll take over now. You go." So it looks exactly like my shitty little sketch. That was tough. We had very quick amount of time, very short amount of time to get that level made, but it came at the end, so everyone was already like they'd made so many of them. So I think a lot of people are like, "It's our favorite level," and I'm like, "That's it's not because we did. It's because the team had already made all the levels, and they were really firing on all cylinders on that one by that point. It's a shame, man. I mean, could you imagine if they only made one Mario Brothers game? Like, how would you possibly get better if you could only do it once? Like, breaks my heart, really. Brave is not a bad movie. This part made me say to myself, the Viking. Surprised you managed to handle such work. Yeah, it was. I'm gonna tell you, it is some pressure. It's some pressure. You know. No, in that case, I did. Normally, I see my project all the way through to modeling. I hand it over to a modeler. But on that one, there was no time, and I was working on other stuff that they could not hand off. I had to finish it, so there was a limited budget. So that you use the people you have available to you. They were like, "You want to do some backgrounds really quick? Come up with a look," and I managed to pull that off. I did just enough of a sketch. It's in my art station. If you want to see it, go look. You'll see. I put all the work in progress on that there. But I would have loved to design, but they took my sketch and built. I mean, the level was filled up with designs by Nicolas Salvatore. Nikos is he's brilliant, but the architecture, the look, the lighting, the color scheme, the Christmas lights, the architecture is all based on my initial sketch. They took that and built a whole level out of it. That's how good they were. So it's crazy. When I look at them, like it just looks like my sketch as a whole level. It's so crazy. Filled up with Nikos' awesome. He did these New Orleans ghosts and stuff, dude. That were super dope. But other than that, no, normally I see, and when they put you on something, you see it all the way through to modeling, you know? Once it gets the stamp approval, it gets handed over to a modeler, and then you move on to the next thing. Yeah, some experience working as a graphic designer. One of the hard things was past. Yeah, I mean, I got real lucky that in my t-shirt job, I'm gonna tell you, there was no more difficult a place to work at in t-shirts than Mad Engine. They own all the t-shirt companies now. They bought Mighty Fine, they bought Fifth Sun, they own them all. There's like maybe one or two left. I think Hybrid is independent, but like all the licensed apparel for men's and boys, they bought them all. When I was with them, they were a small little company, and the owner would curse and scream and yell, and I mean literally, I did something once that they liked, and a buyer didn't like the idea of it, and then the owner just screamed. I mean, this is after I got out of the army. The dude was like, "You motherfucker, fucking kill fuck." I mean, just all that all day yelling, and you got to draw while they're yelling. So that, you know, nothing I've experienced in gaming is like that. So, you know, to get things approved, to create quality work under those conditions. uh, it's not like that over there now, but it was that way for the longest time. The guy who used to do that sold the company to these other people, and then he passed away. So uh, that's still the craziest place I've ever worked, probably. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Whiplash ain't got shit. I mean, I watched, dude. They once. This is before I got there, but it had just happened. They t-shirts. They steal everything. And so if they go to a store and see something they like, they call it, they just knock it. They go knock it off. They just knock it off. And they went to the store and saw these T-shirts they liked, and they just stole. You know, they did their own versions of it. And turns out those T-shirts were designed by an independent family, and they were all in a gang. So the whole gang showed up to their offices, you know, fully armed, and had some words. Yeah, the castle piece. They wanted to. At the time, they thought they were going to use that for a puzzle, but they weren't able to make the puzzle, so it ended up in the art book. They ended up doing a puzzle um, to promote Crash 4, I think, to like. Um, it wasn't that art; it was a mask that Nicholas Cole drew. Yeah, I told you, I have worked. For some reason, I'm not feeling that. Is it easy to get black balm? Black balm. I don't know what you mean by that. Black listed? Black. I don't. Blacklist. I don't know, man. I'm not. The whole thing. To this day, dude, I think what happened was a company was mad at a former art director of mine that they considered me friends with. And since they couldn't get at him, they got at me. So, no, I don't think it's easy, you know? And I'm still friends with that art director. Like, we're friends, but he's never cut me. And he's a former Marine. He's super picky. But we learned to work with one another because, like I said, I'm just there to solve problems. I'm not there to be like, that's my vision. Um, but to this day, he doesn't understand why, and thinks it's because he left that company and there's just animosity, and so I'm the casualty, as it would seem. Sucks for me, right? Yeah, you could be bitter about it. Lord knows I have been, but then you just, what can you do? There's nothing you can do about it. You just gotta move on. They own every t-shirt company, so there's Hybrid and Sea Life, and Sea Life is the one that my art director went to, and they're afraid to work with me because they don't want trouble. So then there's Hybrid, and Hybrid, I don't want to work for Hybrid. So put it that way. So that's that. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I don't even know if I'll be able to work on games ever again. There's not a lot of room for in AAA gaming for what we were doing on Crash. There's just not a, there aren't a lot of studios making that type of thing. So you got Insomniac and Nintendo. And Insomniac, people hire their friends, man. So I'm not friends with any of those dudes. So not gonna get hired. So until some random email shows up in my bin with a job offer, there's really nothing I can do other than to move into a production. Most guys go into a production mode where they model, or sculpt. If you model or sculpt, then you can actually build things. You're considered quote unquote useful. Drawing things is not seen as being useful to most productions. So it's a colossal mistake, but that's the reality. So I consider it. If that's all I ever get, then there you go. Makes you feel I'm a friend. Yeah, yeah, I feel cool about it. That's cool. You and Brandon can hang out. You'll get along. Everything's. I'm telling you right now. A lot of times, man, in realistic games, it doesn't. A lot of times, they maybe there's a Photoshop painting a kit bash something, and they just go straight to modeling. So like a lot of kit bashing artists, huh? Maybe because there's a lot of artists there. No, the place for the design would be in skins. That's 90% of the art jobs these days are in skins. So, um, and then I'm back to drawing clothing, which is fine, but I I did that on Overwatch too, and let's just say it made me not want to ever draw again. So I'm sort of rebuilding my my love of art right now because that was not an experience I want to go through twice. Yeah, they call it photo bashing now, but it used to be kit bashing because they would use model kits where you take a bunch of photos and you put it over some silhouettes and stuff to get all the textures to make it look realistic, right? So environment design. So if you're an environment artist, you want to be able to model too. So there's a lot of photo bashing because they want realism. They're not going to paint stylized trees or design trees in Uncharted 5, right? Or Call of Duty, whatever. Maybe you can work for a game. That's not really a company. So, like, it's a small group. It's an indie group. But there wouldn't be much for me to do. They would probably need uh, animation or vector stuff. What am I going to bring to the art table on that? If I did anything, they already have a look. They already have their designers. I told you, you gotta. It's tricky. You gotta. It's man, game jobs, dude. I'm telling you, luck. It's 90% luck that you find the right team with the right spot doing the right thing that gets approved, that ships, that makes money, that lets you do it again. I got real lucky that that happened for me for 3 years, you know. So I assume at this point it will probably never happen again at that level. So I mean, I worked on Berserk Boy for a couple years. That was fun. About a year and a half actually. But there's nothing for me to do. I'm not a pixel artist, so I completed my work and then you're out, you know? So if they need me for a future project to do, you know, cutscene illustrations and key art, I'll be there, but that's it. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm up to next, guys. What I just do is I start to listen to my little inner Gitchy. My inner Gitchy told me focus on this stuff. Yeah, you know. Right now, I want to design figures that look like cool toys and shit. You know, I have no plan for this. It's just this is what I feel like doing, so I go in this direction. You know, and I felt like doing some sequential art. So with the Power Ranger stuff, I created these fun sequential pages that do everything I was told to never do in comics because I don't think they know everything. Aaron, yeah, that gets you, man. That's what got me the Crash job. So like in 2012, I was trying to put together this retro magazine, and I wanted to do critters and mascots and stuff. So I did this Crash drawing, and I was like, I just want to make Crash look crazy because at that point he was just kept looking more like Chuck E. Cheese. I kept making him look more kid friendly. So I made him look somewhat psychotic. And it was 2012, but it went nowhere. I just put it out there, left it on DeviantArt. 5 years later, I get an email. You want to work on Crash? So yeah. Of course, you have to survive for 5 years. This is gonna be a 3D print? No, I don't do 3D printing. So I'll probably just put all this stuff in an art book next year. You know. Right now, my whole thing is I'm just gonna make art books. You know, until I conjure up another opportunity shows up. What was the question on the other platform? There's no other questions right now. Someone gave me an agree. Someone said 60% luck, 30% connections, which I agree with. And then there's some advice. Maybe I could work for this or that. The only company that I would love to work for at this point would be Double Fine. Like, I'm a huge fan of Tim Schafer and them, but that's a small crew. They don't need more 2D concept artists. They have an amazing crew. They got Lee Petty and they got Levi and they got so many. I mean, they got Brenda. They got all them people down there. You know, something will eventually show up. That's cool. It may not even be games. Something will show up, or it won't. I'll figure it out. The question that you got talking about how you ended up on Crash. What was the question? No, no one asked that. I just started talking about it. It was just I was talking about like following my Gitchy, like what am I doing now, or like what's the next thing, rather than try and be like I could work for this company, that company. I just find what project I want to start making, what I want to spend my time doing, and then I just do that. So you know, maybe someone sees these designs in 5 years and like, hey, want to do some sketches for some statues? Like sure. You never know. You know. Or nothing, or nothing. I really wanted to do so in 2015. I had this idea. I love. I wanted to do a Star Wars piece, right? But I don't like walls of characters. So I really love all the video games. So I had Princess Leia, and then I put all the box art from all the games I could conjure up in the arcade cabinets. And then rather than doing characters, I made all the other characters little plushy dolls. And I just kept doing that for different tributes for a couple years, and that got me the cover to Game Informer. You know, so like it not so much my ability to draw, but my creativity landed me that gig. Which is a nice notch to have on the belt. So I think what I'm just trying to say is, you know, when you want creative work, there are no applications for it. Okay. No one's like, we're looking for concept artists. They're looking for production artists. The jobs that they post online are for building tangible, in game, usable assets, not concept designs. When they want a concept artist, they go and either hire their friends or they look online and find things that interest them. They don't want to wade through hundreds of portfolios. They want to find the art they're looking for. That's why. So, how do I go about pricing my art? I just consider where I'm going to sell it. So if I'm selling a piece of art that I just conjure up, I know online I can move it between 40 and 60 bucks without any hassle. If it's a popular character, I can always sell it at that. So I try to limit when I'm doing little character pieces. I limit, you know, my details or my efforts to a certain amount, like I think 4 hours of work. And the most I'll price those is 60. When it goes to commissions, I'll double that. When it goes to print for indie, I'll triple that. And when it goes to major companies, I work on a daily rate. So when you're working for concept designs, you work at a daily rate. So much a day. So and that varies depending on the budgets. And you got to figure out what people are willing to buy. Like, what is the audience you currently have willing to purchase? Is it $10 plus shipping? Is it $5 plus shipping? Is it 40? Is it 100? Is it 200? Are they willing to throw 200 down every time? 80 bucks every time? Figure out what, I don't ever say I got shit for sale. I just say something's for sale, but I don't go around like, I don't like harassing. I don't like to be in the ShamWow guy, you know? Hey, what's up, Joe? appreciate it. So I try and like make things affordable for the average person to always bring in new fans. You know. But I know when I'm doing a color pencil thing, I can do 6 to 9 a week if that's all I'm doing comfortably, and have time to do other stuff. And if I'm moving those, that could be 40 to 60 bucks a pop, depending on what that is. So you do it. Yeah, hey man, Joe, I could send you a link if you want to come on and chat. Audio, you don't have. So if you want to, I'll send you the link, but you don't have to. Don't feel you have to chat. I'll send you the link just in case you want to. Save it because this link I'm sending Joe, I'll send you in your Facebook. It always works. So if you ever want to come on, you can just save the link. I still got to draw his tattoo. You ever watch Ultra Force? The cartoon, right?
Yo,
Hey Joe. I mean, go ahead and disable
what?
your video. It kills the stream a little bit sometimes. So you can just click the video. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to see me anyway.
Yeah. Let me move
Oh
it out.
man,
There you go. Hey Joe, remember Ultra Force based off the Ultraverse?
yeah,
Our buddy animator is on the. So this is restreams covering YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So you can't see all the chat, but you can now if you look in the chat thing here.
right.
So he goes, "You ever seen Ultraverse?" I'm like, "Man, that's the first time anyone's brought that up." We were a big fan of Prime. Remember Prime? Love
Yeah,
Prime.
I
That
like
was the
Prime. I
first thing
like
I.
Sludge. I like
Pr-
Mantra.
Prime was the first thing I ever scanned into color in Photoshop in 1995. Because they were asking me how long I used Photoshop. I'm like, 95. The first thing I ever colored was Prime.
Yeah,
So,
Prime, the Captain Marvel of the Ultraverse.
right. Shazam.
Yeah,
You were going to be like, Brie Larson? The Ultraverse? Like,
no, Captain Marvel, man.
yeah, okay. The cartoon was all right. I mean, it was about the same as it was on par with the Savage Dragon cartoon. It was that
Wait,
whole
they made
like
a cartoon
Wildcats.
of Prime?
Yeah, they did have limited like because it was that whole like Wildcats had that cartoon and it was at the
Yeah,
Ultra Force though. Remember, it was
actually,
like the team.
Savage Dragons on Peacock.
Sadly,
Yeah,
there's a cool intro to that. It's not the main intro. There was one intro that was animated really well though.
yeah,
It's an alternate intro, and that one I'm like, shit, I wish the whole cartoon looked like that. You're watching intros. Yeah, the intros were like I always tell people like I didn't care about Thundercats or He-Man as a kid. I just liked the intros. So like Ghostbusters was the only cartoon I actually liked watching all the way through. But Thundercats would come out. I watch that intro. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I just tune out. The animation was. Joe, I found out a lot of the people that did the intro to Thundercats actually went on to work at Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Go where the talent is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an alternate Savage Dragon intro where it's like a whole kind of like Batman the Animated, where like it's a scene where he's like flipping over a car and stuff, and it's animated really well. Like it's not that montage intro you see.
Yeah, it was weird when they were trying to do all those cartoons, like the Gen 13 one
That's the
and
one
the
that
Youngblood
bankrupted
one.
Wildstorm. You know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he had to sell the company because he made that stupid cartoon that bankrupted him. So
Sucks.
yeah, they told him
So
not to do it.
that's why
Don't
he
put.
went back to DC.
Well, he was initially. Oh, here's the thing, man. Initially, he was supposed to go to. He was supposed to take over Marvel. That's why he took over those books when Liefeld didn't renew his contract, and New York was like they clowned it. They didn't think it was great, so that fell through. And then he sold to DC. It's Liefeld covers this
Yeah.
in his podcast pretty well. I mean, obviously it's one guy's version of events, but it lines up pretty well. They when he left Image, they wanted to settle, some differences financially, and so nobody wanted to fly out. None of the founders of Image wanted to fly out to the West Coast. So Jim was there. So they gave him power of attorney. So Jim was there with the Larry Marsder or whatever, the legal counsel for Image Comics, and Liefeld and
Wait, Larry
Jim's.
Martyr, the guy that did Bean World?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not
No.
getting the names right. You know me and names, bro. I'm just
Sure,
Larry
sure,
something
sure.
or other.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
fine.
the guy in charge of fucking Image at the time. Anyway, so um, they go there, and Jim settles out for a printing bill of 5 grand, and they were all mad about it. And Jim's like, I have authority, and they are like, all right. And Liefeld surmises that he thinks it's because he couldn't sell his company if they were going to be in litigation. Like Liefeld's like, I would have won any court battle we went through. Like Todd just wanted to hurt him. Basically, he was like, he was all mad at him and shit. Because I guess what happened from Liefeld's point of view is that, by the way, Rob Liefeld's podcast, fucking amazing. Even if you don't like his art, I
Yeah,
don't care.
I've listened
Listen
to
to
a
the
couple
podcast.
episodes. Yeah.
I listen to it weekly, twice. He puts out twice a week. I've listened to all of them, and he goes. So an Image, any book you shipped, it costs 3 or 5 grand, something like that, right? I think it was like 3 grand. So Liefeld was the second highest selling publisher for 3 years straight. They were outselling DC. He had 27 books or something like that. At 3 grand a pop, that's like 40 something $1,000 a month, right? Liefeld's putting into Image. Todd's shipping one book, 3 grand. Now, who's paying all the bills? You see what I'm saying? So when the market was tanking and those books weren't, selling the numbers he needed to anymore because he was paying people well, I'll give him that, right? Like Liefeld was paying people well. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah,
he started Maximum Press to avoid that fee, which
yeah. The
set
Avengulon stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and that pissed everyone off basically because they're like, we need that money, and he's like, well, I'm not funding this whole venture, like, so I'm out. Like that was the fallout, you know. So
Mm.
and then Jim sold the awesome concept. Oh, thank you. So, I did this sketch back in 2016, initially for Brandon, and then I told him I'll draw this at some point. I don't want you touching it. So here we are. But Joe worked with me at that T-shirt company. If you guys are wondering, I was telling him Mad Engine stories.
Oh
Always
yeah,
the best stories.
sure. Hey man, I
yeah,
worked there for almost 10 years, so yeah, I know.
the Albie days. They're
Oh,
like,
went
is
through
that
all of it.
true? I'm like, is it true? What isn't true? All right, give me a second before I start. Yeah, man. So I'm looking forward to that X-Men cartoon they're making.
You know, the 97.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be sick. Continuing it with
I
the same art style. I mean,
yeah, just
obviously it'll be
they're
a
gonna do
little bit
C.
more
It'll be
updated.
CGI. It'll be CGI. Like what if?
What, you think
The,
so?
oh, 100%. Their whole animation studio is CGI that looks 2D. Dude, the What If cartoon looks great. That was
Yeah.
my favorite cartoon of the year until like Arcane. I was like, well, they one up that. Like, but What If is still fucking awesome.
But yeah, the
And they
Doctor
mix,
Strange story was amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, they'll do CGI, bro. They might render it to look flat. They'll do different art styles, but it'll be
Yeah,
CGI. Like,
oh, I
yeah,
could have sworn I read it. They were matching it. I mean, if they do
yeah,
2D,
they're
that's
gonna
fine.
match the
But
look in CGI. Like,
yeah,
you know. I hope they don't match the animation. The animation was the worst part of that cartoon.
well, that's what I mean. They take it and they
the,
can just update it a
the
little bit.
look
But
of it, yeah, the look of it, but it needs the quality of the anime. Come on, nobody thought that cartoon was animated well when it came out, bro. Like they were like, I watch it for the stories. Yeah, I agree. You know, good stories. It's fucking
yeah, I got
cartoon.
into it when Pizza Hut had those VHS tapes they were giving out.
The Joe Mad had the flyer. It was the Joe
Yeah,
Mad flyer. Yeah, he did the art
yeah,
on the flyer on that. Yeah, big Pizza Hut promo. I know my shit. So
yep.
when it comes to '90s comics, I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying I can do some third round Jeopardy. You know. So,
No, I'm
another.
liking the Miglia hair, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I miss. Dude, 54. He died.
yep.
Chris too. Chris died at 54. So
Yeah, it doesn't seem so old anymore. Yeah,
I started looking at. Do I only have 10 years now? Like, fuck. I gotta be really picky about what projects I take. No history of heart attacks in my family though, so super lucky. But I don't know if he smoked or drank or if he had a history. I don't know, or just dumb fucking luck, man.
yeah.
You know, no, breaks my heart. Dude was working on a Batman thing.
I know
Mike
he was
Kennedy
doing
put
that
out.
painted stuff, right? Like it was a
Well,
painted
so
slash
yes,
illustrated.
yeah. So he would paint some of the backgrounds on canvas, and the
Hmm.
characters were just pencil, and then he would do cell coloring in Photoshop, and then add some 3D texturing effects and stuff like that on top to protect it. It was just fucking the best, bro.
Yeah, it looks
Like
so cool. I remember.
he created his best work when he died. Who does that? Like he only was getting better. Like show me any fucking book that's been put out in the last since 2004 that looks any DC book, Superman book especially, that looks as cool as Superman Infinite City. Get back to me on that one. Doesn't exist. So, breaks my heart. All right. Did I inadvertently delete? I did. So let's save that. Copy. And
Oh, I gotta tell you
paste.
something funny. So I updated my Mac, and all my Photoshop and Adobe products don't work on it anymore.
Why are you using a Mac?
Because the one I got from that engine it has all my stuff on it already.
Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I have a PC also. It's my gaming PC. It could run Photoshop. I just
What's
have to
wrong
put
with
it on
Mac? I
there.
like Mac. Yeah, I know it's too expensive.
No, I didn't. It's not like I went and bought it. I did buy it, but for $750. Like it wasn't like a.
No, and now it's broke.
Yeah. Well, it
That
still
sucks though.
works. I mean, it works. It's just the new update just doesn't work with Photoshop. And they're like, please have Photoshop update it. So I looked it up and they're like, we are not supporting these Photoshops
Yeah,
anymore.
that's a Mac for you. I don't got time for that. You know what I mean? Like, I
Uh,
learned on a Mac. You know, I wanted to own Macs, and then I realized a long time ago, oh, so that everything just like, yeah, you just have to update it every 3 years, like everything you own ever. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like
dude, I know. I didn't even know how to use a Mac when I started at Mad Engine. Remember when you took me to freaking
yeah,
snuck me into AI so I could learn?
yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I helped Joe get his first job at a t-shirt company. I think I pretty much threatened you to go to the job interview.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, no, it
Joe
was
did.
a big
Joe didn't
deal.
want to go, and I basically told him
Well,
if
I
he
was
did,
bartending
I'd physically
and
harm him. You know,
he's like, do you want to make this much money instead? And I was like, fuck, that's like $40 less than what I make.
yeah.
Okay.
Until you can't bartend anymore, and that
Right.
happened pretty quick. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, you threatened me. It was good though. I'm glad. Shitty work environment though.
that's what I was telling him. It's the worst I've ever had to deal with. Actually,
Yeah, there was some fucking stressful shit for no reason. Just people making it difficult.
all right, let me save that.
But they did fly me all over the place, so that was cool.
Yeah, they flow me. They just invent all the cool shit and let everyone else get the credit. You got it. Is Joe a character designer too? No, Joe is unfortunately retired. Joe got Joe won the lottery.
Yeah, that's what I say.
the debilitating disease lottery. He got some weird fucking autoimmune disease that prevents him from doing art full time. So
Yeah,
yeah, it
I
sucks.
can I can still do art. It just takes me. I'm just so slow now. Yeah, my hands
Yeah,
fucking hurt.
it's not conducive to working for under
So
tight
anything I do
deadlines
now,
and
I just
stuff.
do for myself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Joe and I were roommates. We planned on doing indie comics together, but Joe couldn't finish anything, so that didn't happen. Not that I'm blaming you. Just they're gonna want to see
Yeah,
it, and I have to tell them. Well, it didn't count. Why? What am I gonna tell them? I
yeah.
didn't do my work.
Old what was it? A sequential matinee.
Whatever. Have-nots. The one I like is Joe wanted to do this book, kind of like Clerks, right? It's a little clerky, but just like their roommates. And I gave this. He had this character, and he's supposed to be like this jokey character. So I redesigned it and gave him a fez. This is like what 2003,
Yep.
and Joe
Yeah.
was like, "It looks stupid. Fezzes are dumb." And then Doctor Who got a fez a couple years later, and Joe was like, "Oh,
Yep.
fezzes are cool."
I
I
got
go,
the
"Yeah,
pages. I got the
yeah,
pages to prove that the fez
yeah."
is there.
I just love that I had to convince you fezzes were cool, and then it took Doctor Who to do it. I was like, "All right." He used to be a character. No, he was a T-shirt designer. So Joe worked with me on license apparel, but honestly, man, a lot of times, dude, there's not a lot of what I learned in character design carries over into t-shirt design, especially costumes. I mean, people always go, "How do you come up with idea for costumes?" I'm like, "Well, I did t-shirts. T-shirts
Yep.
for licensed apparel is not the same as t-shirts online for Teespring.
Right.
So just so you know, like t-shirts online sell in hundreds. The t-shirts you have to design for mass market have to sell
Yeah.
in
I
tens
had
of
like hundreds of
thousands.
thousands. There was
Yeah,
like 100,000, 200,000 of that Millennium Falcon shirt.
yeah, yeah. Which who gave you the blueprints?
Haha. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, because they wouldn't let me do a blueprint shirt. I'm like, I know the blueprints will fucking sell. I've always wanted them. So
Yeah.
I gave Joe the blueprints, and if you see a Millennium Falcon shirt on Red Heather, and it's the blueprints, that's Joe and Rob.
Yep. Yeah. One thing about shirts though is like if I was having difficulty making something, I would just think like that's not a shirt. I would just think, how would I do this for a shirt? And then it just broke down easily for me.
Well, with me too, like now they have people have a lot of assets, but at the time we had nothing, and so I always wanted to do, oh, like I wanted to do X-Men shirts, Jim Lee stuff. They didn't have any Jim Lee art. Marvel wouldn't give us anything,
Oh yeah, we scanned
so
the
I'd have,
shit out of it, you and I, dude.
yeah, and we'd have to rebuild half the drawings because they'd be cut off. So
Cut
you're
off or
constantly
like low
working in
res.
different, yeah, low res. So you're constantly working in different art styles. So to fill in gaps and extend things out. But more than anything else, learning just how to get approvals with art directors is the bigger training. I mean, it's a lot of people struggle with that sort of thing. How do I get someone to approve anything? It's like learning to figure out what people want, not what you want something to be.
Yeah,
Is
sometimes they would actually like come up to me asking me what I think would get approved, so that way we could clear it through faster, just based on knowing the property and whatnot. Like one time we did a thing for a Yoda shirt, and they were like, "Yeah, it was a Yoda being a vegan or Yoda not eating meat or something," and the licensors were like, "Actually, he doesn't eat meat." And then I had to tell him, "Well, I'm pretty sure that in Jedi, or not in Jedi, in Empire, he eats like a sausage or something." And then they looked at it and they're like, "Yep." So then we got it approved.
yeah, Grogu eats whole frogs.
Yeah. See, like, yeah. Meanwhile, Baby Yoda eats fucking frog eggs.
Oh yeah, live ones too. Remember the frog that was sitting there?
Yeah. Yeah. Shirts is one of those jobs where people don't really realize it's a job.
Yeah, when you go to
Like they'll see,
Walmart or Hot Topic and you see these shirts on the walls, they don't
yeah,
come in
someone had to make them.
a CD and they go, "There's the things," and you go, "But it's a cover. I know that. Yeah, that cover has everything has to be set and it's set back up and changed over. And it is work.
Mm-hmm.
It's work. Yeah, the stuff online is fun. That's why everyone makes one. They go, "Oh, I'd love to make it. I make my shirts all the time." Like, yeah, it's fun when you can just do whatever you want. You
Yeah,
could draw
work under the
Calvin and
constraints of a
Hobbes.
licensor.
Yeah, you could draw Calvin and Hobbes looking Mandalorians. You can't draw Calvin and Hobbes looking Mandalorians when you're making real Star Wars shirts because they'll get fucking sued by the Bill Waters estate. Like no problem, Phoenix. Yeah, but the Spider-Man cartoon that they're also doing the freshman year, that's in continuity Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it looks like the Steve Ditko art. So
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that Spider-Man. Hollins.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they hooked
Oh,
it up. He's a
it's my
good
favorite
picture.
film. The last year it came was my favorite film, 2019. People were like, everyone said it sucked. Now everyone's like, it's amazing. I'm like, because it's great. It's awesome. Yes, I don't know, man. I think people just they don't know what to do with something when it comes out. They just have to.
Well,
And
that
then
and
you
it's
give it a
been
couple
remade
years.
like a bunch of times.
Yeah, but I just think like when something comes out, people go, well, I think after Endgame, everyone wanted this serious thing, and I'm like, that's the last thing you want after that movie. Well, the multiverse wasn't real in that one. I'm like, they were just getting the idea across. If you could imagine trying to put that all in one film and just dropping it on people's heads, it wouldn't be about Spider-Man, then it'd be about the multiverse. So it's like they they take their time. I respect that. I really
Yeah, they're
do.
playing the
Give it.
long game for sure. Dude, I'm loving Hawkeye though. It's
Oh yeah,
just
I love it.
fucking rad. Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
way to pass the torch for sure.
The the uh the last episode, the stuff with Echo and her dad, they cast her dad perfectly. Like
Yeah.
that dude. I was like, I could watch a whole series. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get a whole series of this. So she's got because they're making the Echo series. So
Mhm.
I was like, great, can't wait.
Yeah, they made her a badass.
Yeah, that's the last Marvel run I really followed was the Kevin Smith through Quesada run. Like when Matt came on board, might have been the last time. And then when Mayleaf came on, I like Mayleaf stuff, but I didn't really care for the stories, so I fell out of it. But I'd say Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada, and then the Joe Quesada, David Mack stuff was really awesome. And then after that, I was like, it's just not for me. Everything's got so. When they started ripping people in half every issue, I was like, it's not for me. You know, so around the time of Civil War.
Mm.
I remember at the
Well, I
time that's when I
mean,
started working
hey,
on
we gotta
T-shirts and Legos.
blame Brian Hitch. You know, he made the Ultimates, so
No,
all
I
that
look.
whole look
It's
made the
quality
Avengers.
stuff. It's just not for me. Like I
Yeah,
like to laugh and I like comics that look like drawings.
sure.
And when Quesada, I know it's really weird, man. I'm a huge Joe Quesada fan up until when he became editor in chief. Like when he became editor in chief, his art just turned really fucking realistic. Like for some reason, I don't understand it. Like because you look at his, sort of as real. I have this shit signed. I got an Asbad statue. X Force, Ninjak, his Daredevil stuff, Ash.
Hmm.
I have all of his Ash stuff when it came out signed. All of that was amazing art. Now it's like it's just photos. Like after
It's like
9/11, he's like everything's super
it's like you're
realistic
just
for
watching
like.
Law and Order.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like maybe he always wanted to draw that way and just didn't have the time, and because he's editor in chief now he can. But I long for the Quesada that was drawing Ninjak and Ash, and Daredevil, um, with Kevin Smith. What we have now is it's not my thing. So that Wolverine origin thing they did was where I was like, yeah, I'm out of this. When Sabretooth wasn't his dad, I was like, bad idea, guys. Why you would ever tamper, with that? John Byrne and Chris Claremont had that all figured out. Why you would ever change that, I do not know. Really think that was a bad idea. You seen John Byrne still does a bootleg X-Men comic?
No.
Yeah, like every week, dude. Like it pencils. It's called like Spy X-Men Eververse or Ever something. Go look it up, dude. Like, um, but yeah, he basically is just doing the stories he always wanted to do. Like, yeah, he's like, I always have these stories I never got. So he just does them as a fan comic, releases it for free, and then sells the pages.
So I
Sabretooth was supposed to be Wolverine's dad. Yeah, from the very beginning. That was always the plan. And it was always alluded to in the 80s and up into the 90s. And wasn't until they conjured up that weird Wolverine origin story, um, Joe
no the
Quesada, that they
one
changed all
with his
that. Yeah,
yeah where his bone
James
claws and
Howlett.
shit.
His name wasn't James Howlett. It was so dumb. Like I can't deal with it. It's be like just inventing your own like retconning. It'd be like retconning Bruce Wayne. I mean, no, he's I don't know, dude. You know what I mean? Frederick Von Stupid. Like, yeah, well, Sabretooth was called Wolverine Boy or Kid or, he'd always talk to him down to them patriarchally, patriot. The
Like a dad.
American school system fails me. You know, failed me. But I'm not gonna be the ones who's like, "Oh, the stuff I liked was way better. Everything sucks." It doesn't. I just don't care for it. Like, you know, not interested. Sorry. So I'm hoping with that X-Men '97 they get to do the Age of Apocalypse storyline, and
Well, yeah,
with
they
all the
kept trying to.
Nomad
They said they're
designs.
going.
Yeah,
They said they're continuing it, so that's where it was headed.
yeah, that's what I'm hoping. We get to see Blink and Wild Child and that cool version of Mr. Sinister and Evil Beast and all that shit, man.
Hmm. Wolverine with
With
no
their
hand.
with their original designs, not changed to be
Right.
modernized. And, yeah,
Wolverine in his red and black or whatever, red and blue
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. I got the promo poster, the original '95 promo poster, up on my wall with the alternate airbrushed cover.
Dang, fancy.
Hey, man, I took some of that crash money and scoured eBay to get back all the shit I lost when I when I left home when I was a kid. They say you can't take it with you, but if you got a little bit of money and some free time on eBay, you can get it all back. And I did. I got all that. The one that was the hardest one to get was Todd, X-Men is all about politics. So I hate to break it to you, but go read God Loves Man Kills and then talk to me about not bringing politics into X-Men. Um, First X-Men story I ever read, by the way. God Loves Man Kills. So
Yeah, isn't that what X-Men 2 is
Striker
based
was not.
on?
Sorry, Striker's not a general. Let's put it that way. He's not a general. So, anyway, what was I saying? What was I saying? What was I saying, Joe?
I'm about buying stuff on eBay.
Oh, so the thing I found that was so when I Comic Con, I want to say 94, 93, 94. Liefeld and the Image guys always gave away the best posters. I mean, big posters, dude, for free. That's what I would collect at con. What's the cool new promo posters? And he had this poster for Youngblood Year One that was going to be written by Kurt Busiek, and and it was like this all the Youngblood dudes in front of a cabin out in the woods with this big American flag and shit. And I was like, what is that story going to be about? Because I like Youngblood, and it's action figure comics, folks. And so it never happened. That comic never happened for whatever reason. And I had that poster, and I it got destroyed. My brother like ripped it up and everything. I found one. It was not easy. It wasn't on eBay. It was on like a third party, whatever. And it's a little beat up, but no more than you would bringing it home from Comic Con,
Just by owning it. Yeah.
or just bringing it home from Comic Con and being a 14-year-old kid. Like so. Um, that one I'm most proud of. That was the hardest. The other ones was the Spawn poster that the big full one that Todd put out, the official one. He put
Hmm.
that in the Angelo that Jim Lee drew out, and I had both of those. Those were not cheap to find. Those cost me a little bit of money, but I rebuilt my room when I was a kid, basically a teenager. So anytime I'm like, I hate drawing, why draw? I go in there and I just sit and look at all the cool shit in brand new condition and go, this is why.
This is why. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, this is why. Give me a second, folks. I'm trying to. All right. Hey, what's up, Gian? Is it Gian? I'm going to assume that is. All right, let me see. Yeah, we'll just do black here. My friends go, they're gonna ruin X Men. Bring plot. I'm not saying that, but I've heard this before, and I'm like, you like Logan? Like, yeah. I'm like, it's political. Don't know
You
if
know,
you've paid
I
attention to
haven't
that
even seen
movie.
that yet.
No,
No, I haven't seen Logan. No,
why?
just haven't gotten around to it.
All right, Joe, watch that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, I'll check it out. I
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to. I know
oh
that
yeah. For me, the trilogy
what's
is
her
like
name's in it.
this, right? You can go X Men 2. You can forget X Men 1. You don't need to see it. You can go X Men 2, X Men 2, Days of Future Past. No, X Men First Class. Sorry, X Men 2, X Men First Class, or X Men First Class then X Men 2. However you want to do it. And
Yeah, the
then
timeline.
Days of Future Past, right? Days of Future Past, and then Logan. That's
Mm.
my little jaunt there, and you get a pretty good story. You don't need to see X Men 3 and all the other shit.
Oh, you don't need to see Dark Phoenix?
You don't need to. They explain
Oh,
what
they
all that
did.
shit is.
Yeah,
Yeah, they explain it enough. What do you need to know?
yeah.
That somehow Jean died of something, and like they didn't explain all the backstory when you go see a new Batman movie. You got it. You know, remember you'd see Batman Returns. Like, what happened to Vicky? They never explained this shit. So they say enough in the movies to put it together. So
Mm.
I like the opening to X Men one, but then it's just Sabretooth and the fucking Statue of Liberty thing, and I'm here,
Like
but you
using
speak too
Rogue's
fast.
power to turn
Oh,
everyone into.
sorry, sorry, Jaime Noob. I speak fast. Yeah. Hey man, I wouldn't be able to understand anything in French. Um, and I watch a lot of French anime, like on Dofus and the Treasures of Caribbean. I watch it in French, and I couldn't understand anything. So props to you. I'm trying to minimize the amount of zoom. So I'm trying to keep it at 100 or 130 unless it's faces. You watch the Haikyuu series, anime series Haikyuu, Joe?
No.
It's anime volleyball. Super good. Super positive. The music is Hironaki Sawano, who did all the music for Attack on Titan. You know,
Mm.
yeah, it's amazing, Joe. You'll be like, I don't even like volleyball. You're gonna love volleyball after this. I wish every sport was animated. You use 11 by
Well, I can
17
imagine how they would do it. You
depends.
know.
I don't draw on too many 11 by 17 boards anymore because shipping, there's no point. A lot of people actually like smaller pieces of art, so it just takes too long. So like if someone said they wanted 11 by 17 commission, I'd charge them like 3 times what I would charge for a normal one because it's just the more space it takes, the more fills up. Every now and then I do one though. So I did a Lobo and a Batman one last year at 11 by 17. But that's because I wanted to draw something that big. So I gave him the hookup. But yeah, it doesn't really matter what size you draw it anymore.
Mm-mm.
So, and 11 by 17 is a newer technique that kind of came out of the late 60s, early 70s. You go back to it's the biggest you could draw in FedEx um, art. Eric Larson was talking about this because he started experimenting with different sizes. And apparently, back in the 40s, they would draw things super big because you could draw tons of details. But the print houses they were usually in studio, so those boards can go right down to the print house and get turned into plates. You can't mail that stuff off now, or he'd have to scan it in like 17 parts and put it together. So it doesn't really make any sense. How many times would you do the inking? Like you redo your inking? I'm not redoing any of it. I'm this technique the drawing part in, and I'm just adding thick and shadows with this brush. I would not redraw these lines. So something I've moved on the last few years is utilizing whatever I create in the actual drawing and not redrawing things or duplicating efforts. Other than my base sketch, which I do at low res. I do my base sketch at 50% of this. So this is 35 by 4,000 pixels, 3,500 by 4,000 pixels. So my base sketch is 50% of that.
Man, you should do a chibi Batman in the back with his back broken.
I don't do chibis, I do chonky. These are chonks. Branding, Joe. It's all branding.
I know, I'm just messing
Chibis,
with you.
chibis imply that they're cute. I don't want anything cute about what I'm doing. I want it violent. They're
Hey man, I got a
they're
game
violent.
Girls of Gaming chibi patch
Yeah,
that you drew.
that was before it was popular. Now everyone's doing it. Um, Everything here is based around basically 3 passes. The drawing and some thick, and then there's the drawing, there's the thick and shadows, and then there would be your base flat. That's what it looks like. I did a test, so pretty straightforward. You play any of the Dark Souls games, Joe?
I tried to play the first one. It's just too difficult, man. I don't like. I
You
like
know what's
games and
crazy?
stuff, and
They
I'm a
aren't
gamer. But
difficult. Here's what's they aren't difficult. I found this. I figured so. I got Demon Souls on the PS5, right? Because I was like, that looks graphically amazing. It has muddy, murky waters and crypts and lighting. And I'm like, that's my shit. Have I ever drawn Clayface? Not yet. I'll get to it. Um, the trick is it's super hard when you don't know. Once you know where everything is, because the placements don't change,
mhm.
um, then you can like run through a whole level in like a minute. So like people think it's hard. You die because you don't know what's coming at you. Once you
Yeah.
even like giant bosses that are 10 feet tall, you can learn how to defeat them, and it's not that difficult. It's just you don't know how to do it. To that end, I'm like, this is just like Ninja Gaiden. You know, like, like Ninja Gaiden was the same way. I thought it was hard when I was a kid until I figured out all the timing. Then it's not so hard.
Hmm.
So, but Elden Ring's coming out is why I ask.
Mhm.
In February. Looking forward to that one. So it's one of the reasons why I stopped drawing commissions, Dot, for a while, because when I draw like a Batman character, then people go, I want you to draw me Spider-Man. So I'd like to be able to tackle some Batman characters. So I have to like stop commissions for a while and just do this stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I can
I
do
did
what I
check out
want.
Dreams.
Which one?
Dreams,
Okay.
and I'm still trying to figure it out. There's a lot of shit in that thing. Um, I didn't realize that you can make games and all sorts of
Yeah.
different cool stuff.
You can make your junk drawer thing uh, and actually be interactive. But you could just concept paint and do whole scenes. It's real
Oh,
intuitive how you can grab stuff around. I'll send you a video to a guy's site where that's what he does. He was taking Bob Ross paintings and recreating them.
it's freaking sick.
So when I saw that, I was like, and it's super great because you can just grab the clouds and move them around and create light sources. So it's like you can just do paintings, but in VR, you know? So remember when Vordet DS3, this is J straight, return, kill him? Yeah, that's it. Like it's not hard. It's just, it's like people think Dragon Quest is too easy. They go, Dragon Quest is easy. I'm like, all right, then don't change your weapons and don't grind. Well, then it's too hard. So it's not too easy. See, Dragon Quest's design is set up so that if you don't change your weapons and don't grind, you can still beat the game. It will be hard. The difficulty is built on how you choose to level up your characters. The more you level up your characters, the more weapons you find, you change your stuff out, the easier it gets. And I believe Dark Souls has a similar philosophy in that once you know where everything is, it's incredibly easy. Or if you use magic, right? Like if you use magic in Dark Souls, it there's your easy. Don't use magic. Use magic, it's going to make it 10 times easier. Like seriously, you'd be hard pressed to not be able to beat that game if you use magic. So,
Yeah, the games I've been playing recently is there's a new R type that came out. And I like shmups, so I got
oh yeah.
that. It's hard as hell, but it's got a kid's freaking difficulty setting.
Did you
So
play
that's what I
1945 in
played.
VR? There's a VR
1945.
version. You remember the arcade game 1945 with
Oh yeah, yeah.
the shmup? There's a VR version of that. That's awesome.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what a VR shmup would
Well,
be like.
it's just top down, but the 3D comes around you. You know, they fly down
Oh,
in there and
okay.
then go up. Yeah, so it's cool.
All
It's
right.
like playing a game with super through it, like 3D shit all around you and stuff.
Man, I do need to get a new headset at some point, though. It's getting old. So hopefully they do a new one. I know they've been talking about it, but
I have the 3D one for my PS5. It's cool um,
hmm,
in terms of like the 3D audio. Like you definitely get the 7.1 deal. Um, Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't because my head gets all warm with this headset sometimes, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing I wish they would add in is like more vents or some sort of fan or something. I mean, that's like too bulky, but I agree. I do want to see if like try some VR games that aren't just you walking around in an environment like Skyrim.
Well, soon they're mostly only going to be that way. Sony has a mandate they're putting down with their new PSVR and all VR moving forward that they just want you to use it like a big screen where you can move the characters around and like Moss, you know,
Oh yeah,
like yeah, which is how I said, look, I enjoy standing up, getting some aerobics, but you generally want to relax and kick back when you play VR or play a video
sure,
game. So they need to make it so you can just sit back and play it like basically games in 3D, with
yeah,
where you could look around and instead of and I told you when I got my DK1, the first dev kit you could Oculus,
yeah,
it was compatible with Dolphin, the Wii emulator, right? The game,
hmm,
and so I I loaded up Wind Waker, and it blew my mind because my head is the camera now, free roaming camera, but I'm moving Link around. So it's just like playing with toys, bro.
yeah.
It's like
No,
playing with
it's
action figures. Yeah,
yeah. That's what the robot game is like. The
yeah. Astrobot.
Astrobot. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That and like you said, mouse.
Moss.
Although
Yeah.
mouse is like fixed though. Like I know you can look around and stuff, and you're looking at like a playset.
There's a technical problem with making it so you can just look around and do it. There's also refresh timing rates and stuff that it's very difficult.
Yeah,
So this is
yeah. I'm sure there's
something
hurdles, but it
they're
keeps
working
getting
on.
better. I think.
Games are generally designed to only render whatever direction you go in, and there's a certain turning speed, so everything's based around that. And if it's there all the time, or it has to be rendered faster, it's optimization is really what it is, and they got to develop the APIs that allow them to tap into the cores to do it, and it's a whole thing. It's coming. I would love a Final Fantasy Tactics VR mode. You know, see my little dudes out on the battlefield.
Yeah, any strategy game would be kind of cool. XCOM would be kind of sick.
Well, if you plug in, you can play on Steam with the Oculus if you have the link cable,
Right.
and there's a couple really good RTSs on there, man. And it is like your toys because you just take your hands and when you grab hold of the board, you can move it around.
Yeah,
So you just
that's
look to
fair.
your left. Because you know me, I hate RTSs because like Command and Conquer and StarCraft because I can't memorize the maps.
Right.
I don't fucking know. But when you're sitting here, I just move my desk. I move my Cintiq out the way so I can get my good arm reach, right? Clear the table off so I don't bump into shit. And then like I play the RT and I'm just looking around. I can see the toys coming this way. Oh, action figure. I'm like, I want GI Joe and Transformers like this. You know, I could set down my action figure. You imagine being able to get like a Star Wars where you can actually get the action figures from the Kenner lines and set them up and actually have them go fight one another and stuff.
Well, that'll definitely happen with AR eventually. Like you just look at your guy, and it scans it or whatever, and then it starts doing shit.
I feel they're mostly going to just use AR to sell me ads.
Well, that's definitely going to be a thing. Well, isn't that
Yeah.
what all this stuff
I
is
won't turn
for?
it on.
Isn't that what
No,
the
I
internet is
mean
for?
wherever there will
Like,
be no games, it'll just be ads everywhere.
oh yeah,
Yeah. They just want
it's
to
like
put
here,
ads
wear
on
these cool
everything.
shit, wear these cool AR glasses, and now buy everything. All right, Rob, this is looking tight, but I'm gonna go
No, thanks for hanging out, Joe.
get to bed. Yeah, dude, it was fun. Take care. Later, everyone in chat.
Peace. Question: what do you think of Horizon Zero Dawn? I like the gameplay, but character-wise, specifically, I like a robot. Mostly that character dialogue system, which makes it dumbest they've added. Well, I think the thing to remember is it's built in Germany, so German developers are really cool at tech, and that studio has always been good at tech, like with the Killzone games, and art direction. Um, German writing is. I've lived in Germany for 3 years in the army. It's they have a different take on. They have a different sensibility when it comes to character stuff. Man, they're more stilted, more thematic. Themes might be the word I'm thinking of. Theme based. So maybe you know they've taken that into account. You know, maybe they haven't. I mean, you're not gonna get Psychonauts level writing out of that studio. But I will still think Horizon Zero Dawn is more fun and more engaging to play than the Assassin's Creed games by a long shot. So if I gotta choose, I know where I'm putting my money. But I agree, it could be more human, but human. Not that the Germans are inhuman. It's just they think more about themes. You know? Like what was the story of Killzone? You know? Yeah, well, but it was awesome to play. Great visuals, right? Cool designs. Sometimes it's enough. They all can't be Kojima, right? But I don't think it's any more uh, dry than you know uh, most Resident Evil games. Oh, thank you, Cree. It's getting there. Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn's a bit of a heartbreak for me. And also because when I was at this game magazine, the owner of it, when the market tanked and they lost all ad revenue, he wanted to make his own indie game, and he had a budget for $250,000. And he was friends with WayForward, and they were going to build the demo that we were going to use. We're going to spend $250,000 to build a demo to um, to get the full game made. And he wanted this game where a girl drove around on a motorcycle and used her hair to swing around and stuff. And I had concepted um, this stuff out. I'll show you. He did not like it, but I'll show you. So this is 2009, 10ish, right? Give me a second. I gotta find it. Here we go. So it's funny. I put her in this environment, and it was supposed to be this apocalyptic wasteland, and I'm like, fucking, I hate that shit. So I had it all be these different creatures like dinosaurs, and they were robots. Hold on. Let's see if I can. Yeah, so this is 2009 or 10ish. I'll show you. These were some initial sketches I did where you'd see all the tubing and pipes, and the environment would grow the robots. See? October 2010. And I was told, he called Savior Machine. I was told it was a stupid idea. And yeah, I'll even show you the design I came up with the chick. Hold on. He wanted it to be post-apocalyptic. He didn't want my version, or it was it was what it was. What can you do? Let's see if I can find the poster. One second. I made a poster. I don't know. This was the design for the chick, so it's older. This is not a final pencil. This is 2010, so this is older art. But she would use her hair to whip around and swing. And she had a motorcycle bike I drew that looked kind of like a chocobo. But it's what it is, man. So yeah, like you can see it was like a one wheeled, and then I put these guns in the back, and these it's kind of like a chocobo, but whatever. So, but I remember when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, I'm like, yeah, so robot dinosaurs with the chick doesn't work, huh? Okay. Like I didn't I had to do this all in a I did all these concepts in literally a week. Like like it just wasn't enough time. It was just to get it across the field, you know? Like here's a weird mech design I did. Like there it would grow robots. That was the whole idea. So some of them were samurai, some of them were dinosaurs, some of them were I don't know what the fuck you'd call this shit. Yeah, I did silhouettes with the design, just drew these shapes in here. I can draw endless gears and stuff. I doesn't this is something I can do with no effort. So like see? So, but he was like, "How's she gonna fight things that big?" I'm like, "Make them really hard." And then now that I played, Demon Souls, it was out. I was like, "Just make them really hard." Dude did not like this shit, bro. Like, I got, I got yelled at for. I'm not yelled at, but like chastised would be the word, like. So he ended up hiring someone else to get his version. And game never got made, so what does it fucking matter? But when I see Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm like, yeah, that's what I was trying to do. You know. So I did a colored poster. I gotta find it. Like cave troll, mecha cave troll. See, so we would have obviously added textures and stuff. This was just to get the shape designs across. It wouldn't have all been black. It's just I had a week, you know, to figure all this stuff out. Like I have boards. Like here was a mood board, right? Like it was supposed to be a simulated environment. Like it's a giant hologram universe, so it's simulating different environments. Was an idea. So this was just to get like ideas across, you know, like scope. So, but I had to do all these like in a week or two. Say like some basic fucking shit. But but yeah. So when I see Zero Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm like, yeah, it did work. You know, it worked. uh, I even came up with the logo. Look, it's all fucking like what's his face? The dude. What's that guy from the '70s? So I even made a logo for him. Whatever. Whatever. I was trying. I was trying to get something going, guys. And it just did not work out. Such is life. Yeah, chunky, whatever. So, yeah. What time is it? 2 o'clock. Bane, the chunk. Is your light source coming from the top? I'm using the shadows to create weight. I'm not too concerned with uh too many light sources with it. So I'm using it to pop weight. Mignola does a very similar technique, like, kind of like up here that way mostly, but I'm not. It's a more of a weight thing than it is a lighting. Nice. It's a weight and shapes issue. All right. Well, question: any advice when shading with the black color? Man, it just depends on what you're trying to do. You know, like if you want to get heavily into lighting, pick a light source. If like I just like to do shapes. So like I'm trying to pop out shapes. So you use the shadows to pop out shapes. Anything, put it this way: if you put black behind anything bright, it pops it out. So the way to think about it is what am I trying to pop out, and plus what kind of weight am I trying to give them. So he has this giant thick outline because I want to give him a ton of weight. And so I'm just figuring how much weight to give him. It's kind of the. And I want something more graphic. So the more graphic, quote unquote, graphic you go, the more you want high, like chiaroscuro kind of style, high contrast, right? If you want it more animation cell, low contrast, singular line weights. It's kind of the idea. I always like a hybrid personally, but I don't know, whatever. When it disappear, um, no, you'll be able to see. Here, see, did a test. Depends on if your colors are too dark, my friend. Pick lighter colors. Don't pick dark colors. When it comes to heavier lines, I would not look at anything being made today. I would go back and look at comic strips made in the 80s and 90s and kind of study how they got around thicker line weight. Like Calvin Hobbes is a great one when he would do the color issues because you could see the kind of color design that's being picked when he uses a thick black outline. These days, they put too much color over stuff. When there's thick line art, and then it darkening up. So the more heavier blacks you need, the less rendering you need in your colors. The worst thing you could do is add super rendered stuff, super rendered lighting on top of thick inks, which is why when they recolor old comics, the colors look like shit because those comics were designed to be seen with the line art, not designed to be seen with rendering. So I don't want to do a lot of rendering with this. I'm intentionally using a bolder outline to avoid that. I liked Spider-Man 2019 was my favorite movie of that year. I saw an IMAX 3D and I own the 3D Blu-ray uh, 3 times. So twice the first day. I walked out, bought a ticket, went right back in. So then I took my wife um, the very next day. So because it came out on a Thursday, if I remember. So she was at work. So I love all the MCU Spider-Man films. I had to work on T-shirt wise. I worked on Spider-Man 3 and the two Amazing Spider-Man films, and that wasn't fun. When people go, I love the Andrew Garfield films. I'm like, well, where were you when I was working on this shit? Because you didn't buy any of the fucking merch, you know? No one did. I'll leave that in color. Spider-Man 3 was tough. Spider-Man was tough because everyone was expecting it to give us a bonus that year, and we lost so much money on the merchandise for that film. Like Spider-Man 1 and 2 built Madigan. It made them the studio they were. They had the life-size Tobey Maguire Spider-Man statue in the front with the raised webbing and everything. Um, Let me tell you something. The merch is how the sequels get made. They don't get made in ticket sales. So yeah, if merch doesn't sell, they got a real problem. unless it does over a billion. If a movie does over a billion and has no merch, then they can continue. Other than that, they can't. That's just how it is, my friend. Like that's this is not in my perfect world, bro. Like in my universe, commerce would be dictated by quality, not capitalism. But in a capitalistic world, yeah, it's commerce. Art as commerce. Art mass commerce masquerading as art. All right? That is the reality to working where people spend money. So, yeah, those Transformers movies. The only movie that ever did really well that sold no merch was Avatar. Avatar did really well, sold no merch, but it made $3 billion. That's why I didn't have to. I knew that's how it worked for cartoons. I was oh, 1,000%. Well, these movies, like tentpole films based around comic book characters, yeah, that's how they make their money, man. They spend if the budget says 300 million, just assume that another 150 was spent on marketing. So, how do you think that gets paid for? These days, it's a little different because of those video games, Fortnite skins, so they can offset. If clothing's down, they can make it somewhere else, but that's why you see Dune. The Dune figures have not sold. I know that for a fact, but I don't know the numbers on the Fortnite skins for Dune. But Warner Brothers is committed to making that movie, that sequel, no matter what. So when a studio says they're going to do it no matter what, then there you go. But Sony didn't do that well in the merch on the first film, and the second film tanked. I mean, it just tanked. Like you got to understand how expensive it is to even make merch. Like to get things sourced in China, brought overseas, put onto truck, uh, put it into stores. Those slots that you see when you go to a store, those are millions of dollars. People pay for those slots, by the way. Those aren't just given to you. Like it's very, very difficult. So I learned how to sell things without being able to describe it to people. Like that's hard. Learn how to make things that catch people's attention. That's what t-shirts taught me. Like in my world, I would allocate, $100 million to art endowments just to further independent cinema, independent TV, independent music, independent Broadway, independent books to offset the corporate oligarchy that we all live under. I mean, right now we're happily living under it because they're making shit we want, but maybe one day they make a bunch of shit you hate. Then what? You know? So until you want to get an original idea like that savior machine off the ground and they go, well, since it's nothing we've ever heard of before, we're not spending money on it. With video games, it's a little bit different. With games, it's based around Metacritic scores, pre-orders, and the first week to 4 weeks of sales. That's generally the most a AAA game will ever do in its budget. All right, well, you know what? I'm going to call it pause right there, folks. I'm sore from talking. I have talked more tonight than I normally do, and that is 3 hours of straight talking, my friends. So we'll get coloring done tomorrow. tune in tomorrow for colors when we will color this and get it done. But I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me. Seriously, thank you. Super appreciate it. Yeah, anytime. Anytime. Feel free. Please like and subscribe to stupid channel. So it's not that I make money off it. It's that if you don't, YouTube won't share my videos on their platform. So that's it. I appreciate it. You don't have to spend money. Just do that. It means a lot. All right, everybody.